But everybody who's jumping on, thank you so much for joining us. This is my first ever TikTok live. Don't Erica, your first ever TikTok
It's my
live.
first ever TikTok live. My
We're popping our
17-year-old
TikTok
making
live
fun of me.
cherries. It's good. Hi, Sandy. And so Eric and I met, okay, backstory, context. We're both writers, all right. We met doing something we were terrified of at a pitch conference in New York City a couple years ago. And the goal of that conference was for you to practice pitching your books to agents. Like you would refine your pitch one day with like a whole bunch of other writers, and then the next couple days you pitched them to actual literary agents. It was
Terrifying.
terrifying.
It was terrifying.
It was absolutely terrifying. Like one of the coolest experiences I've ever had, like literary experiences. But we stayed in touch over the years. We've been cheering each other on. But what cracked us both up, because we're both now on our publishing journeys, right? My book comes out in October, and Erica's book, is it like a week later? Like our book's a week
I
apart.
think mine is October 14th. When is
Yeah,
yours?
mine's the 7th. So our
Yes,
books are both
within a week.
memoirs.
I'm so excited.
Memoirella. We can talk about that. They're coming out a week apart, but we started off writing sci-fi fantasy. Okay, so I was writing, and still, our love letters, our literary, what do we want to call that? Literary dreams were based on in fiction. But we're both starting off writing memoirs. So Erica's like, we should talk about this, because Erica started off writing about space pirates. I started writing off about dragons, and we both have such fervent desires to still pursue those projects. But we both ended up doing very similar writing journeys, and now we're both doing memoirs. So kind of wanted to talk about doing things scared today, and kind of that process, that writerly process, that publication process. It's gonna be a little chatting. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of both of those things.
I'm excited. Also, my hair is wild today because it's so humid. By the way, I live in Philly, and lots of sports stuff going on here this week and over the next couple of months. But it's super exciting to be talking to you on this Sunday afternoon. And it's been almost exactly 2 years since right? Is that right? In 2023, since we met? Was that when it
I
was?
think it was 2022. So look at us.
3 years.
We're
Like,
coming
I
up
don't know
on
what
three
time it is anymore.
years.
3 years. So then, why don't we start there? Tell me. So when I first met you, first of all, your fashion was flawless, as always.
As I wear the most boring flannel today, but yeah, it was very colorful that week.
Do you want to talk about what you were pitching then, and kind of like where you were with it, and then we can move to talk about like how we even got here.
Yeah, same. I will talk about this. I'm going to throw the
Yeah.
same question back at you. So I went to that pitch conference with a book that I had been working on for literal years. And the way I pitched it was a Jurassic Park plus Goonies mashup. That was my goal. And I had based it um in a contemporary setting, which was like what really drew people. Like when I was pitching it, they were like, "Oh, this is dragons in modern day world." And I was like, "Yes, this is dragons in the modern day world, causing havoc, eating people." I wanted it to be that, but I also wanted it to be an adventure story, but featuring not just like kids on bikes, which is one of my favorite cinematic literary tropes. I guess it works better in cinema than it does in books, but it doesn't matter. Kids on books, messing shit up. I love that. And I also wanted to have a heroine that was in her 30s. Like, I love young adult literature. I have such a passion for it. But I was like, why does all the cool stuff only happen to teenagers in books? And then I just didn't see necessarily in the adult books that I was reading adults like having a good time. I saw adults struggling with adult things, falling in and out of love, dealing with all kinds of like the hard adult things, but like going on adventures. I feel like I wasn't seeing that as much, and I wanted to see more of it. So that was what I went to that pitch conference with. It was called, my book, it's still in existence. It's still a labor of love. It's called Sisters, Salt, and Dragons. And it's supposed to be like funny, adventure, dragons eating people kind of story.
It's
Um,
so good. It's
that's where we
really
start.
good though. Like it's I think
That's
it like
that's where we're with.
that's
It'll exist one day. I swear it'll exist one day.
it already does. And I think
That's
that's
true.
one of the things that's so hard to convey, I think, as a writer is like you work so hard on this piece of writing and then you have to describe it in like three sentences. And I actually think that that was maybe the biggest challenge that I was facing that weekend is how do you take this epic sweeping story and then turn around and write a synopsis? Like you've been pouring years at this point for each of us when we had
Hmm.
met into those stories, and then we continue to pour time and energy into them, and then we have to distill them into like four catchy sentences for
Yep.
an agent or an editor. And I think that's actually more nerve-wracking than writing anything.
And it was also like the bit about that was so terrifying was like, yeah, you have to come up with this pitch and then okay, you can't labor over it. Here's a
Yeah.
publishing professional, do it now, get feedback live. Does your pitch suck? Is it compelling at all?
Yeah, and do it in front of other people who are also being judged.
It's true. My gosh. It was a really lovely group of people. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I
Like, it
agree.
didn't feel like, it wasn't like cutthroat, honestly. It felt like everybody was rooting for everybody else. And
But okay, but that was in the sci-fi fantasy room. I think in the romance novel room and the mystery room, it was a different story.
really? This is too,
Yes.
it was
I
a little
think
bit
it
more
was
cutthroat.
actually legitimately cutthroat in the like adult thriller room that was next door to ours. I think that there was some real like sweating happening.
Dang. Yeah, man. I feel like the only third person I was fighting against in that room was myself. My anxiety was through the roof.
Yeah.
I just remember I couldn't make my knee stop shaking. I was bouncing my knee so aggressively throughout that whole talk. Oh my gosh. But that's what I was pitching. Can you talk about what you were pitching?
Oh my goodness. So I was pitching a book that is written, and I'm working on re-editing. And that's the other thing that I think somebody told us that weekend. They said that the real craft of being a writer is not in initially getting a book out of your head. It's the rewriting. And I think that was actually something that I have found has been very true. And so I've been working on the story. I started out, it was like 110,000 word space pirate epic. There was, and I think I also found that weird middle ground between young adult and adult,
Hmm.
and is what maybe lives in new adult right now with the version that I have. But it's about a young woman whose father was human and mother was question mark, and then comes across a scientist whose spaceship is stranded, and she is an interstellar pirate and she sees an opportunity. But what she, of course, stumbles into is a plot to overthrow the galaxy that she had no idea was happening. So that was the 110,000 word space opera that I was pitching when I met you.
So delicious. So
And
delicious.
now here we are
Hmm.
with our memoirs.
My God. Now, what I want to know is what
Yes.
inspired that love of like sci-fi? Like, what got you into wanting to contribute to the genre and like inspire that story?
Um, a couple of things. I have always really loved science fiction, and I am a Trekkie, but also the yeah, interstellar pirates, Nicole, exactly. And
Love it.
so, but one of the things that I think I was really excited about, I this was way more Star Wars than it is Star Trek, right? So it's got a little bit of like modern technology fiction in it, but it is mostly of the swashbuckling variety of science fiction. And I realized that I didn't feel like there were a ton of really solid women characters in that space. And so, in the same way that you felt like there weren't a lot of characters in a fantasy adventure genre who were in their 30s, I was looking across my landscape of stories and saying, well, where are all the really awesome women out there in the sci-fi universe who are, kicking butt, or maybe they are the villains, or maybe they're doing really unusual stuff. So that's really what I was excited to explore, was this idea of what, almost like re-envisioning Star Wars as led by women.
Dude, I love that. I also, admittedly, I grew up with Star Wars. I have a Star Wars tattoo. I got into Star Trek late, but when
I've noticed.
there's a quote I read, I can't remember where I read it from, but it was like, Star Wars is like what the world could be now, or like if it was dystopian a little bit.
Yeah.
But Star Trek is what the world like could
Could
be
be.
if like humanity
Yeah.
got its shit together. And I've always loved that.
Yeah.
I was like, man, and I've done a deep dive into Star Trek since, but I was like through my like childhood and teens, it was so just Star Wars. I read all the books. And then I didn't really come to Star Trek till the new movies came out. And then it was like going backwards. Like I watched the new stuff and then I was like, oh, I want to catch up and I have to go back to the originals and all that jazz.
Oh, wow. Somebody shared a galaxy with us. That's exciting.
That is also my brother.
Awesome.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. Man, I didn't even know this is such a new thing. I don't even watch TikTok lives. Like I feel like a grandma right now. I'm like,
I know. It's
someone
awesome.
sent us a galaxy.
Yeah.
Wow. Cracks me up.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, with
So
no
what happened? So
segue.
you did your pitch, and then you actually had a bite from, was it an agent or an editor?
It was so after that pitch conference, I had two different agents request full manuscripts, three full manuscript requests after that pitch conference, which was so exciting. It felt like my pitch was killer and it was making a really strong query letter. But then these people got, it sounds so negative saying, these talented literary professionals
Yes.
received my full manuscript, read it, and they were like, this is good, but it's not there yet.
Mhm.
And they're right. It's clearly not there yet if it hasn't come into existence. And some of them, one of them even gave me like line of like, these are the plot holes in your book. There was like 7 or 8 of them.
Oh,
And I was reading that list and I was like, he's not even wrong. Like I can't
Right,
even disagree
right.
with that. But I think at this point, right, I started writing this book maybe in 2017, 2018. This was at this point 2022. It had already been through so many rounds of revision. And to get that close, right, like to have a literary, like the part of querying for traditional publishing when you're sending out basically a cover letter for your book, for those of you not familiar with the publishing process, a cover letter for your book with a compelling pitch to potential literary agents who will then represent your work and submit it to traditional publishing houses. So to get someone to ask you for a full manuscript request is very exciting.
yeah.
And for them to all come back as, no, your book's not ready yet, when you've already put in 5-6 years into it, it was a little, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little disheartening. And that's just kind of the writer journey. Like you dust yourself up, you pick yourself back up. But I think something that I've learned creatively is if you're not excited about your own book, right, it's time to pause on that and maybe come back to something else. So I was really disheartened after getting so many rejections in a row. It was like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think what's my issue is I made a really good pitch and it is reflective of my book, but I don't think my book is fully living up to my pitch. So I set that book down for like a year and a half. Longer, because I started writing memoir. This is our segue. Started writing memoir because I was like, I'm just take a break from this. I'm going to write this little book that matters to me, but like, I don't know what will come of it. We'll come back to this later. I'm only just picking up now years later again. And I I'm excited again. I have a fresh vision, and I think that's part of the, like, you can, it doesn't mean it was time wasted. I think that's what I had to let go of. It's never time wasted unless you completely give up, right? It's just you might need to pivot and chase other opportunities or ideas and then come back to what you were doing in the first place, if you so choose, or it just stays in the past and you move on to other things. But
I think that's one of the things that they do, like, I think is maybe the hardest lesson to learn for new authors is maybe the book that you're madly in love with isn't going to be the first one that you have published. And I think the one of the pathways to building resilience as a writer is kind of coming to terms with that and realizing that, like, I am in love with this book. I've spent so much time and energy. Like, same with my book. My book is about space pirates, and one of my favorite parts of the book is a scene that happens in a casino, and I created a gambling game for that scene. And I actually sat a bunch of my friends down a couple years ago and made them play it with me to see if it worked, and it totally worked. So, like, I am so bought into this book, right? But I think it's also like coming up to the reality of, you know, what is it that you can get done as a writer and an author, and what are the stories that you feel like you could tell that maybe have more marketability right now, which is kind of how we got to Memoir.
It is how we got to Memoir.
Just why don't you talk? I want to hear all about, like, first of all, when I met you, you were not internet famous yet.
That is true. That was an accident. That happened in 2023. That was a complete accident.
So exciting.
I feel like, so if we are making this little segue into what made us switch over to Memoir, I feel like when there's like a story that's on your brain and it won't like leave you alone, even if you don't fully know what you're going to do with it, I feel like those are ideas that deserve attention. Even if, like, at the time that I first started talking about being like a late bloomer online and went accidentally viral, I had people at that point being like, you should write a book. And I was like, I don't know what to say. I don't have anything to say. But it was just like an idea that just kept, like, it wouldn't leave me alone. So I didn't actually start writing this book that I'm coming out with now, Who Is She, until the beginning of 2024. And I still didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know anything, but I was just like, I feel like I'm starting, like, it's an idea that won't leave me alone. I feel like it's a good story, but it's weird, right? Because, like, it's your real life. That's the big transition with Memoir, is you're now, what is the narrative arc of your life? Changing that, like, you've been living it. How does that correlate to being on a page? Like, that's the weird part. And it's weird too, like, now that it's coming out, hyping something up that is nonfiction to me, like specifically Memoir, also feels like weird in a way that I don't think I would feel if it was a fictional book. Like, I am a little almost self-conscious about it, which is so wild. But, like, just that difference of, you're in fiction, right? It's made up characters, and they might be based on real people. Like, a lot of times I get a lot of inspiration from people in real life that make it into stories. But for Memoir, it's all you. And, like, your life, your experiences. And that's such a wildly different segue, but it was an idea that wouldn't leave me alone. So I literally, like, at the time I was going through my very first breakup, and I was like, I'm already sad all the time. So I could stay in this sad bubble, or I can just start working on something as a distraction.
Well, we have a good question coming in. I should say that we have a couple questions that I've got. Wait, Sophie has a question. Have you got a part of the book you're excited for people to read that you loved writing the most? Ooh, that's a great question. What do you think, Laura? I know that you've read a lot of really sassy quotes lately. Some sultry, spicy content.
For my book now, I absolutely There were moments I feel like of revelation, especially in memoir. Like as you're writing, it's kind of cathartic, right? Because you're, again, when you're living it, you don't see the narrative arc necessarily, right? You probably ran into this. You don't necessarily see the whole story when you're living it. But once you're writing it down, you get moments of like the light bulb moments. And I feel like there's a couple of them that I wrote about specifically in memoir. And that was the part that, those were the parts that were the most exciting to me. It was those little like revelations, because I'm like, oh, this is helping me, maybe it'll help someone else too. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like, and that was a totally different, a cool experience for memoir versus like for fiction. I feel like, yes, there are cool parts of my dragon book that I could see it like on a TV, like it's so cinematic, right? Like there's those kinds of parts where you're like, this is so cool. um but in memoir, it's totally different. Do you have parts you were excited about for yours?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that was really difficult, and I don't know if you found the same, like, yeah, so one of the things that was actually pretty difficult was editing and deciding what to take out,
Hmm.
right? And working, my publisher, Banana Pitch Press, is out of Portland, Oregon, and the publisher, Michelle Kitcher, is a writer herself. And so she um, was committed to putting out novella length pieces, right? And so I kind of looked at my memoir and I said, can I cut things out of this? And actually, when I did, it was stronger. And so I think what was exciting, the other part of that is I did one pass of my memoir that was strictly just me and my life. And in the same way that, and I, by the way, I have read Alora's book and it's incredible. And you are, I want to say, like, you're maybe 15 years younger than me, and you are the older sister that I wish I had when I was growing up to date. I do actually have an older sister, but her dating advice was not that great. So I
Oh
think,
man, that's funny.
like, in the same way that your book is structured as both like sort of like a help book and then also a memoir, I came to a place where I said, I'm not really content with just sort of telling my story as it happened, because it's not that it's not interesting, but there was so much more context for me to provide.
Right.
So I'm actually really stoked for people to read. By the way, my book is about
I was gonna say,
no,
we
yeah,
haven't talked about
my
your book
book
at
is
all.
about the history of flat track roller derby, which started in Austin, Texas, in the early 2000s and spread across the U.S. and the world. And I ultimately ended up running the nonprofit organization that ran the sport. And it's about my sort of growth process through that entire community. And what I felt like was missing that I'm excited for people to read is interviews with people. And so I went back and I actually have two completely different narrative styles that I'm using in the book. It's both me, first person in the moment, and then it's also interviews with people who were also there and what they experienced. So I'm excited for people. I hope they like the way that I wrote it.
It's so bad. It literally is so badass. I'm sure there's a way that I can show an image on screen, but I don't know how to do it yet because I've never done it. Do you have your book in
Like,
front of
I
you?
have
'Cause,
it.
like,
My cat was sitting on
yeah,
it.
look at that badass cover. It's so good. And the title is
Yes.
so good. Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Oh, yay. We got some Derby folks in the comments. We also have another one, which is, did we ever feel tempted to fictionalize? That's,
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, so I feel like this could be answered in two ways.
Yes, and
So when something is happening to me in real life, sometimes I feel like the way I process emotion, because I grew like when I did go to school for creative writing, I have my master's in creative writing, and I only wrote nonfiction in college. It's all you were allowed to write in the programs I was in. But I always loved fantasy. But I'm way more used to writing nonfiction, and I feel like now, like when things happen to me in real life, the way I process them is by writing them down. So like in my relationship now, I write about all the, like, anything sweet, good, kind that happens to me in my life, or things that are even hard. I have like a notebook and I'm just writing them down. It's not exactly a diary, it's just something that's happening. And I feel like that my TikTok videos are like that, and very much my memoir was like that. As I was, it was comprised of things that had happened to me that I wrote down. However, the sometimes talking about hard things, whether or not they're really good or really bad, is so difficult. And when you're in memoir, it's such a vulnerable, like, intimate medium, because you know this is real life. And I was so committed to it being real life. But processing hard things, or even like expressing what is true to you, I was very much trying to walk this line of what is authentically my story and what would hurt someone if I was fully, like, 1000%
Yeah.
truthful and accurate with this. And this is coming from when I started writing this book, I was on good terms with my ex. We're not, spoiler alert, we're not on good terms anymore. So it doesn't mean he's a bad person or villain, but it did mean when I was writing this book, you know, we ended up being toxic for each other, and trying to write about that while not, like, trying to be honest about what did I contribute to this situation? What did he contribute to this situation? I almost wanted to dilute it down, or like make it better than it was. And to me, that's like fictionalizing a memoir, is if you're trying to make it more positive than what it actually was. Like, you're trying to find the silver lining of even the shittiest situations. And I found as I was writing it, I didn't want to gloss over, like, some things, especially for a relationship, right? Like, even me, who shares everything about relationships online, I keep things private too. So there was definitely like, what can you talk about? What is authentic to this story? What absolutely has to be told? And some of that is gritty and hard. And it was so tempting to cut it out or dilute it down. In that way, it's kind of making it fictionalized. For this book especially, that was the biggest challenge, is how do I make this true to my voice, protect someone else's privacy, protect whatever privacy I care to protect at this point.
As a TikTok influencer.
As a TikTok influencer who tells stories about all this stuff all the time. Like, it's so much to balance. But I feel like when you are committing to memoir, you are committing to being a truthful, like, I wanted it to be a truthful account. And it's that, what are you willing to share? What are you not willing to share? I feel like that line, that murky, those are murky waters. And I ultimately put out something that I felt very, very good about, but it is going to be interesting when the world at large has access to it and they know about everything I've been writing about and feeling.
Oh my
That was
God.
a very rambling answer.
Well,
I'll
I
let you
think
take
they're
a
gonna
stab
love
at that.
I think everybody's gonna love it. These are good questions. Everyone keep the questions coming. They're very, very good.
Were you tempted to fictionalize while you were going?
So, yes, but I will say, I think one of the reasons that I mean, I didn't, but I think one of the places where I got a little stuck was, how do I leave the story on an uplifting note?
Oh my God, yes.
So I guess, and maybe that's what you were feeling is I think as a memoir writer or as a nonfiction writer, I wanted to leave the reader with at least like some positive takeaway, right? Like, how do I make this, like, here is a really difficult story, you know, and it's about, I also am really excited because this story allowed me to experience myself, flaws and all, right?
Yeah.
So I think, like, I did a lot wrong going through this process, and I did a lot wrong in my life. And I think what is freeing and exciting for me is that I'm not hiding that at all, right? Like, I come forward and I'm like, yeah, here are the ways that I messed up, or here are the ways.
Also, I'm nodding because not like, oh yeah, you did, you did so much wrong. I just wanted to clarify, like, same.
Yeah. So it's, you know, I think the hardest part was, and so to try to answer the question, did I feel tempted to fictionalize? No, but I did really want to understand where I should leave the reader with what I had to say. And I think one of the things that I ended up doing was actually ending a step back in time.
Mm.
So I kind of take the reader chronologically through my decade in the sport. And then because really timeline wise, COVID is kind of where I eventually started to step out.
Hmm.
That was not a happy time, right?
Yep. Hmm.
We can argue even about today, but I needed to kind of find the right moment to leave the book on. And I had to take a step back in time in order to
Hmm.
do that. So, fictionalize, no, but like rework the events. Yeah, I had to kind of figure out what the best order of operations was to leave the reader feeling positive.
Hmm. Dude, that's actually so, it's such a true point. And it was something when I was going through the final edits at towards the end of that process for me, my editor was like, so you're a very like sunshiny person, but the end of your book isn't super happy. And I'm like, what do you mean? I've talked about going through this breakup, struggling with mental health, and being borderline suicidal.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I'm telling you, I love living again. Is that not a happy? And he was like,
We
you're
made it.
doing it too subtly. It's too subtle. Like, is there anything you would contribute now to this? And at this point, this was almost a year since like the darkest period of my life. And at the time I was writing it, it was a little bit closer to that.
Yeah.
He was like, is there anything that's happened since then that you feel like you could end on a happier note on? And it
Mhm.
actually took me aback because I do consider myself like a joyful person. So like that someone was
Yeah.
telling me my book was too sad at the end. I was like, what do you mean? But even just sitting down to it with like having the space of like it had been like I said, there had been like from the moment I had written it to when he was giving me that feedback, it had been like a good chunk of time. And
Yeah.
even just coming back to it, I did have a happier like spin to add to it. But at the time I was like, well, this is what was happening though. This was real life. This was
Yeah.
this was the victory. Like wanting to be alive and happy and joyful again. That was the victory. Like, what do you mean? It's not coming across? And he's like, no, too subtle.
I kind of want to read that version of the story.
My gosh. Like,
Oh my gosh.
so it was, they did have me take one chapter. They were like, this one doesn't fit in the book. Like, it was like you were building towards a slightly happier one and then you end on a sad note. They were like, this doesn't fit.
Right.
And I was like, that's okay. It can come out. And I rewrote that chapter. Um, and I feel like it was still authentic, but it did require like the time and space, which is, I think, also intrinsic to memoir, like you're writing about for you, right? Like events that happened
Yeah.
a little bit far. So you have like they happened in the past a little bit more. So you have like the opportunity to reflect on them. And I feel like I also needed that. Like I was writing about something that happened to me so recently, but I also needed time a little bit more to reflect on it. And that happened, but
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Wait, somebody asked before, let me see. Sorry.
I'm
Someone
glad
asked,
you're paying attention. I thank you everyone for your comments. I've
yeah,
seen them, but I am
these are
so
great
like flitting
questions.
around. I am like,
Okay,
I
I'm
gotta
here. I'm
concentrate
here.
on what I'm saying.
This is what I'm here for you. This is like my
Bless
wheelhouse.
you. Bless you.
Um, Other than having your stories be told, what are you most excited for your readers to discover? Ooh.
I think I wanted people to feel, for my book specifically, I wanted people to feel validated. And like I absolutely,
Wait, tell everybody what your book is about, Alora.
well, that's true. I'm making assumptions here. My book, and I don't have the physical copies yet, but they should be here in another week or two. My book is called Who Is She? A Late Bloomer Survival Guide. And I wrote it about coming to dating for the first time in my 30s and my first like experience with being in love, falling out of love, healing, all of that stuff as an adult. And one of the things that really motivated me to start talking about TikTok on this, it was total, like literally when people ask me, why did you start talking on TikTok? And I was like, well, I started on TikTok because no one was following me on TikTok, so I didn't expect anyone to see my videos. But I just wanted to be less embarrassed about the fact that I'd never had like a first kiss or been on a date in my 30s. And I was like, I'll just start talking about it on TikTok. Because at that time, okay, I'm 35 now, but I was 30 years old before I found out that being a late bloomer, romantically or otherwise, is a super common life experience.
Yeah.
And how isolating that is. So it's just not true. It's becoming a little bit more mainstream now, way more mainstream in the last like year or two.
Like because of you in
I would like to think I started chugging,
one of the influencers,
pushing that train along, but
well, you're one of the first influencers that I saw who was talking about it, and there are quite a few folks out there, right?
Now it's so, and I love that because to go through your whole life and think like you must be like grotesque and unlovable is like, that's the narrative we get because all you see is like the virgin jokes and pop culture. Like that's how it's treated. So for my book, I wanted someone who was also a late bloomer to feel validated in that, like to feel like their pain wasn't, they weren't alone in it. It might not have like a solution. Like reading this book isn't going to be like, boom, every problem you've ever had is going to vanish away. But I wanted people to feel like that solidarity because it is a very isolating life experience. So that's number one. Mm-hmm. But number two, and I feel like this is a theme that I try to bring through my whole book, is that you can, no matter where you are in your life, you can dream new dreams, like develop new dreams and try new things at any time. Like it's never too late for that. So if like, you know, dreaming of a partnership or romance, that's one life goal.
Or becoming an author.
Becoming an author, which is again, and we didn't really talk about this yet, but like, you know, why we would choose memoir, we were like, okay, well, this is an avenue towards our author dreams, right? Like any new dream, it's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like, yes, our society absolutely celebrates success in a younger age, and it's not to detract from those accomplishments. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that if you're not on Forbes 30 under 30 list,
right?
Like you're toast,
right?
Like it's just that you can develop new skills, new dreams. You can go on new adventures, that it doesn't expire with age. It only expires when you die. So
yeah, life
is for living. That's kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a very long answer of what I wanted people to be able to take away from my book. What would you say for, please don't let them eat the baby, or don't let them eat the baby?
Yeah, don't let them eat the baby. So I think safe spaces are becoming more and more important in this world. And when I entered women's flat track roller derby in like 2006, 2007, it was still this very like punk rock kind of almost like skater girl culture. And then over time it grew to be, and at its finest, is inclusive in gender and identity, in race and sexual orientation. And you know, coming out of it now and sort of re-engaging with the rest of the world, I ran the sport for 4 years, and then I went on to run its insurance division. And I think coming out of that experience, it is a little bit of a culture shock to me, because we had this kind of beautiful utopia of like women-run systems, like women and non-binary run systems. And they weren't perfect, and they were still sort of steeped in a lot of problems. But really where it brought us to is this place that it's okay to be different, and to not fit in with what everybody else's idea of normal is, in the same way in the same way that you do that with age discrimination and dating, right? Or like putting these sort of cultural assumptions on yourself for what is normal, right? And I think we created in roller derby this sort of safe space for what could be, like a really, and was, and continues to be like a really exciting safe space for people who just don't fit into the way that sports exist right now. And don't get me wrong, like I live in Philly, so it's almost completely impossible for me to not be an Eagles fan. Like and Phillies fan, right? And I love our major league sports teams, but you know, the fighting our city had to do to get a WNBA team is significant. And really should it be that hard? No, but at the same time, the WNBA I think is probably considered one of the more successful women's sports franchises right now, right? And like, why? So I really want to explain in this book that the spaces themselves in women's sports are more important to the women participating in them than being famous,
Right.
than being on a Gatorade bottle, than being on a Wheaties box. Maybe that dates me, but like really,
No, it's still relevant. Still relevant.
the sort of economic systems that exist with professional men's sports perpetuate that system of like highly paid athletes and whatnot. Women's sports perpetuate women succeeding and lifting up women and non-binary athletes. And like, that is low key a better win in my mind, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's really what I'm hoping folks take away is that there is so much value to community run systems that has nothing to do with $1 million salary.
Dude, I love that.
Which would be nice, but like,
Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
great.
yeah, yeah.
No, so valid. Such a good answer too. My goodness. Look at us. We're doing good.
It's almost like we've written books about these topics.
We might be experts in our fields. Like,
might
like crazy.
be.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah, that's good.
So I feel like this is a question we've danced around, but we haven't actually fully committed to yet to. And I feel like we're touching on it a little bit with these answers. But so if we started off with these like big dreams of like fiction, sci-fi, fantasy, that kind of thing, how did we take a little pivot into memoir? How did we do that? Why did we do that?
Ooh, you know what? I did it because one of the questions actually that we got when we were at the pitch conference, right? I don't even remember who was talking about it, but like it might have even been one of the editors who came to talk to us, and they were basically like, "Well, what's a story that only you can tell?" Right? And so that's the genesis of where I came at this, because I was like, well, I ran the sport, and there is not a lot of information coming from people who were like running the sport. And I basically brought the sports broadcast program to ESPN and then took it back off because it really wasn't the right thing for us. So that in and of itself, anytime I talk to people about that, like, yeah, I basically created the contract with ESPN and then decided that it wasn't right for us. And right, anybody that I would talk to would be like, wait, what? Why would you walk away from ESPN? That's insane. And like, well, let me tell you the story. So I think there's such value to really sitting down critically and thinking, well, what's the thing that has happened to me that is either unusual or unique? And that was it. What about you?
I feel like it was kind of it was like a swirl of reasons. Like I definitely wanted to capitalize on the fact that randomly being a late bloomer was now trending after not being a thing anyone talked about for forever. So I was like, oh, this is a chance for me to get my story out there. Let me get it out there. And also to, like I said, validate that life experience. But I also thought, you know, we kind of touched on this earlier, is if you're not getting like the traction you want as a writer for one idea, being able to pivot to a new idea. So this wasn't even just like a new story. This was like whole new genre, like a whole new avenue of how we could kind of kick off. an author career. And I think both of us were like, it doesn't mean we're like permanently paused on these other projects, but it was definitely like, okay, well, if we're able to somehow kick off publishing long form content in some way, and if it's through memoir and we have a story to tell, like, why not make that attempt? Like, if I keep coming back to like, why did I do this? It's like validating and spreading that late bloomer story, but also if I've had this lifelong dream of being a published book on a shelf author, and go through that for any means, and this is another means that you can make it happen. I was like, why not try? Why not see what happens? Like, if it's the vehicle to help other projects happen in the future, why not?
Yeah, like why not start out from, I don't mean start out, but like, I don't know. There is another question in the chat that I want to get to, but I also think that like, I don't know if this is my last nonfiction book. I think I have other stories in me too. But
you're not wrong. I feel similarly, but I feel like I want my next, for the reason, this is just a me problem, I feel self-conscious about writing that nonfiction the way that I have it for fiction. So I feel like I have other nonfiction stories, but I would love to hype up made up people versus myself.
Yeah. Yes. Like, to stop looking at me for a second. Look at my space pirates.
just for a minute.
Let's talk dragons. So somebody did ask, though, is there anything that you're afraid of people misunderstanding about our book?
I think something I tried to push through the narrative of my whole memoir is something that people misconstrue quite a bit when they hear me talk about being a late bloomer, is that they believe if you're in a relationship, you're therefore blooming now. Like, a partner has made you bloom.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not actually a part of the equation. Actually, the partner isn't what makes you bloom in anything. Like, if you're like a late bloomer, it's not just talking about romance. Like, if you feel like you're a late bloomer with your career or first sport, whatever, it's what are the limiting beliefs that hold you back? What are the fears that you have to overcome in order to take this like next step in your life? So for me, it was setting down the shame that I had around my lack of experience. That was like crippling to me for so long. It was like my closely guarded secret. So my blooming wasn't because I started dating. It was because I was no longer afraid to try. And I was no longer afraid to own this truth about me. Like, I needed to level down that revelation about myself to the same level as like my hair is brown, my eyes are brown. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have my first kiss till I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be this like thing that I held on to and was praying someone would accept about me. It was just a part of who I was. And that is what makes you bloom to me, is when you can let go of whatever that limiting belief is. And it is something that I try to carry through in my book, in like building new dreams and trying new things, like that aspect of it. But I do worry that people, because I am in a wonderful relationship right now with the love of my life, that they will see my
May
story.
or may not be in the chat right
Who has
now.
been in the chat. That they will see my story and be like, oh, she got a happily ever after and now she's bloomed. And that's just a part of it. Like, the romance is a part of it, a big part of it, because that was the dream I had. But that same mentality can be applied to anything you hold back. So I feel like I'm afraid that people will mistake my happily ever after for this is the recipe for happiness for your life. But that's not it. It's setting aside what holds you back in order to take a step forward.
I love that.
What are you afraid for you?
Yeah, so I think as someone so I ran the sport of roller derby for 4 years, and then I was also an announcer for the broadcast. And when you are in both of those positions in a very public way, like literally anything you do is up for public debate, right?
Mhm.
On the internet. And so I think one low key, one of the things that roller derby taught me was to be able to take criticism publicly and just keep going.
Mhm.
Because, and I think about this a lot in terms of being a leader, right? Like I'm a Gen Xer and I run a nonprofit in Philly. And it's a lot of work to really sort of figure out how to be in a position of leadership that feels authentic, right? And so I think what I learned in the book was that my own ambitions, if you're not really good and clear with yourself,
Mhm.
accomplishments don't matter. Like they don't mean
Mhm.
anything. Unless like really what means something is getting super clear on who you are so
Mhm.
you can achieve what you want to achieve, right?
Right.
Like you have this incredible authenticity where you're like I know you, so I know that you're like you are blooming regardless of your incredible partner right now, right? The bear is a delightful accompaniment to who you are.
Mhm.
And I think getting to a place of who I was very hard and very painful and very public.
Mm.
So there's a piece of me that feels like people might automatically misunderstand me no matter what, and that's
Mhm.
okay,
Mm.
right? Because I'm also someone who's come to a place where I believe that people who are committed to misunderstanding you are going to want to misunderstand you. And that is
Mm.
just how it is, right? Like, so, and the people who really want to get you are going to. And
Mhm.
I think that's what's important is that no matter what, like your authenticity has to be key. It
Mhm.
has to be the primary driver because then you will feel judged. Like, I don't even, you have some great like reviews already of your book. I don't know, people might come back and totally like obliterate my book and be like, this is the worst drivel I've ever read in my life, right? Like, I don't
Impossible.
know what they're going to
Impossible.
say.
Uh-huh.
But like I think that's got to be who you are when you step forward with something like a memoir. You just have to be
Mhm.
ready for people to misunderstand you, and
Right.
that's okay.
Game. Part of the game.
It's part of the game.
Man. Man.
This is awesome. Do you
I
want to
like
ask another question or two, and then
I think so. I'm like, man,
I
I could keep chatting for forever, but
know I'm like
we're
my
coming
cat
up on
wants
an
to.
hour. We'll probably do a question or two. Um,
My
and yeah,
cat's
we're gonna have to
moving.
do another one of these chats in the future. It's too fun. It's too fun.
I know. I know.
um, let's see what some of our other what were some of our other questions that we were gonna ask each other.
Oh, let me take a look. Oh, what do you think the hardest part of becoming a
Get
published
out of my brain.
author?
I was gonna ask you that question from our
Yeah.
list. Um, I think two things. One, um, I know everybody in every field deals with imposter syndrome, but I feel like when you are putting out a book that's going to exist forever, and it
Right.
has so much, and it has so much of like your heart and soul into it, especially for like a debut book, right? Like it's not like the make or break of your career, but it's definitely like this is you presenting yourself in a way that you haven't before. And like I've published short fiction, like I've written articles before. Like it's not like we haven't proven right that we can write and that we're good at it, but there's definitely the oh my gosh, what if people read this and they're like, man, this was this girl's life dream. She needs to get a new dream. Like she's no
She's
good
also
at
going to Scotland, okay?
it.
She's got goals.
Like so there is that like I think the fear of am I not good at this? I think the second hardest thing specifically about being a published author is promoting this creative
That was
endeavor.
gonna be my number one.
Yeah, it's the self promotion that is just totally totally
Yeah.
different than anything else you've done before, and having to get creative about it in an industry that already like struggles with promoting like new voices in general and all that jazz. And it wild. I'll let you touch on that struggle. Go for it.
I agree. So I think what's cool is that you and I have we have like smaller publishers, but we have different pathways to how we got here. And so my publisher, Banana Pitch Press, is emerging, and I think I'm the second book that they're putting out. So we decided to do a Kickstarter for the printing costs and for some of the upfront costs for the press. And I think that was, first of all, that was one of the most rewarding times that I think I've spent, because what we did is we actually created a piece of merch, and we went around and we went to the book is about roller derby. So we went to two really big roller derby events. One of them was in Austria, which highly recommend, 10 out of 10. If you, after Scotland, you should go to Austria.
Oh yeah.
And then Las Vegas in July, which was a little hotter than Austria. And talking to people about the book was just really inspiring, because to see what motivates people to play roller derby, to get involved, or to still be involved with the sport was really so meaningful. And then we did all of that work. And then also we're promoting the Kickstarter on social media and trying to get folks to contribute. And that was just such a tremendous amount of work. And then now you and I are in that like 1 month out to press, and we're like really we have to hustle to try to get as many pre-orders as possible, because that is how the industry works, right? Like we have to launch on pub day with as many pre-orders as we can. And I think I am not I'm not in a place where I want to be an author because I want to make buckets and buckets of money. Although, like, hey, that would be amazing.
Yep.
I think I want to get the story out there as best I can, and I want to do the best job I can to try to get the story out there. Again, not knowing if people are going to like it or not. So I do actually think that like promotion is probably the hardest thing.
I would agree with that. And I mean, I've like my day job, I've been in marketing for so many different industries for like, I don't know, coming up on 10, 15 years now. And so like, it's not like marketing in general was a complete mystery to me, but marketing for something that you created from your brain, that is about you.
You're not marketing for someone else, you're marketing for yourself.
Yes. And there's that, the way that you are trying to convey why this book is cool and you'll enjoy reading it. You're trying to convey, oh, if you want to pre-order it before it comes out, don't forget to pre-order. That's real important. Please do that. That urgency, like try to convey that, like the urgency to read it, the urgency to pre-order it before a specific day, like conveying those messages, I feel like is very unique to book publishing, is what I'm learning right now. Yeah. Like it is a totally different kettle of fish, can of worms. Why are those phrases with gross things?
Ball game? That's a sports one.
There you go.
That's a sports analogy.
That's better. Like it's just totally, totally different. My goodness.
Well, what do you like about it then? Let's end on a positive note. What do we like about it?
I feel like I have enjoyed immensely seeing like I started, I feel like, let me backtrack. I started sharing just quotes from my book, like reading them out loud over the last month. And I just pick random ones, but I feel like seeing what resonates. You
seem to pick all the spicy ones, which I
there have been quite a few spicy ones, but I've been like experimenting with the different ones, but the spicy ones definitely get more traction. So I guess my next project should be a romance novel. But
we're gonna manifest it. It's the eclipse. You're manifesting it.
Romance novel next. Romance novel. But seeing what resonates with people, because I've now done like a variety of quotes, like now
Mhm.
like about breakup or healing or dating or first kiss, like or kissing, like seeing what resonates with people just from little tidbits, and like when people get excited about it or like it, and I'm like, but just wait till you read the whole thing. Like it's so exciting to me to
I
see
love it.
what different messages stick out to people and like attract them. Good job, babe. Sorry. He got back with our groceries from Costco. Thanks, babe.
Oh, I saw that. That was perfect.
What about you? What is a publishing good thing that has come out of this process?
So I'm someone who likes to learn how to do things, right? And so now that I've figured out, like, I think learning the process of publishing a book from start to finish is like, has completely opened my mind to like things that I can do. And I think like you had mentioned limiting beliefs before. And I feel like every time we do something that sounds impossible from the outside, that we somehow manage to accomplish at whatever level of success we think we accomplish it, every time we do that, like we gain confidence and get closer to being ourselves
Mm-hmm.
authentically, right? And so I'm so excited to have learned this skill, and now I feel so much more confidence in myself as a producer of a lengthy piece of writing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know that you and I can do it, right?
Yes,
I
that's
know, like
true.
we're authors now, right?
That's
And so
true.
like
Yeah.
we figured it out. We got there. It wasn't exactly what we thought it was going to be from the outset, but we not only can we do it, we did it, and we're
Yep.
going to continue
Mm-hmm.
to do it. So I feel like that process in and of itself was like invaluable.
And it was something we'd never done
It
before.
was something we'd never done
That
before.
was scary. And you just learn as you
Oh,
go. You practice and you get
we
better.
did it terrified.
Like, and you do it anyway. You do it
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
My gosh. This was a lovely chat. Well, absolutely, y'all. We'll absolutely have to chat more because I feel like there
I
was
know. I was
so
going
many
to say we
different
should do
ways.
it again in a couple of weeks. Maybe folks can tell us what they want to know, like if there are specific topics about
Like that. Yeah.
publishing or romantasy books coming up.
That'd be fun. But yeah, y'all, if you have like different questions, feel free to drop them. I'm gonna try again. This is my first broadcast, so
Hey,
I
we
know I
did
can
it
save it.
scared, but we did it.
We did do it. We didn't do it flawlessly, but we did do it.
I thought we did it pretty well.
We did. I mean, yeah, we did. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but yeah, absolutely would love to do another chat in the future. I know I definitely want to do more lives on here. And I'm gonna be doing them scared every time. Here we
Yay!
are, doing them scared
Oh,
every
wait. Before we go, where can we buy your book?
time. It's a good question. It is available for pre-order. The ebook's available on Amazon, and the print copy is available for U.S. residents and Barnes and Noble. It'll be available internationally on Amazon on publication day, October 7th. And where can we find your book?
Oh my gosh, almost the exact same places. Here's what it looks like. So if you have to look on the internet for it, this is where you can find it. You can go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble, and I think we're also on Powell's Books. And then we also, if you we're going to keep updating those links on my publisher's website, which is bananapitch.com.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. Well done, Bestie. High five.
High five! We did it.
Oh, man. Another live Q&A. Oh, I like that too. Those are good ideas.
I
We're
was
gonna
like,
have something on the
now you're
book.
gonna have to have now you're gonna have to go unpack groceries.
He already did it. He's good. He's
Oh,
good. He's a good man. He's a good man.
nicely done.
But anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll absolutely do another one in the future. And all done.
We did it.
And we'll talk to you guys again soon. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.